This week we're talking about the role of women in ministry. And one of the things that I want to challenge you and Christians everywhere to do is to be a stronger, a louder voice for women. My thinking on this all changed and my passion started about 10 years ago when I moved to Chandler, Arizona. When I moved here, I had heard about our sheriff's chain gangs. I thought there was something of urban legend until I was driving down a major boulevard and I passed a chain gang. A group of women chained and shackled at the ankles in striped uniforms with deputies holding shotguns around them. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, so I hung a U-turn, came back, parked the car, and started walking towards the deputy. He lowered his gun, and I said, "Hey, I just need to ask you something." And he said, "What?" And I said, "Would you please tell your sheriff, in Chandler, we don't want his chain gangs. Because in Chandler, we do not want women shamed and dehumanized and humiliated." And he was kind enough to say, "Okay, I'll tell him." Well, I was a bit surprised, but I thought, well, that went well. Several months later, closer to our church, I pass another chain gang. So I stop again, same routine, the gun lowers. I approach the deputy. I said, "In Chandler, we do not want the women shamed like this." And he said, "Well, what do you want me to do now?" I said, "Well, you're going to have to leave." He said, "Okay." And so he turned to the women and he said, "It's time to leave now." And I thought, well done, bravo, that couldn't have gone any better. But then when I shared the encounter with some friends, they said, "Palmer, you robbed the women of their opportunity to get out of Tent City." And someone said, "Palmer, maybe you shamed the women in telling them to leave." And now I felt terrible. And so I decided this. I decided the next time I passed a chain gang, I would take their orders. Well, it wasn't long after that when Lawrence, our barista at the Grove, ran into my office and he was out of breath and he said, "Palmer, there's a chain gang just down the street." I said, "Lawrence, grab a pen and paper." And I grabbed a pad and a pen. And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because we're taking orders." And we drove down to where the chain gang was. And as we approached the deputy, and this time it was a woman, the deputy, she lowers her gun and she says, "Stand back." She said, "What do you want?" "Are you reporters?" She saw the paper and the pen. I said, "No, we're not reporters. I'm a pastor." She said, "Well, what do you want then?" And I said, "Well, we want to take the women's order." She said, "What kind of order?" I said, "Well, Lawrence here is a barista, and he can make the women the best latte they could ever dream of." And I said, "I want to take their order for a vanilla latte or a mocha latte or a caramel macchiato latte. You name it, and Lawrence will make it." She said, "Well, I don't know if you can do that. Let me call headquarters." So she phoned headquarters, and she's shaking her head, and she said, "They said you can't." I said, "Ask them why." And then she asked him, and she hangs up, and she said, "They said you might put a weapon, a shank, in the drink." I said, "I'm not going to put a shank in the drink. I'm a pastor. I don't even know how to make one." But the answer was no. But my point is that women shamed and shackled at the ankles and put on display is wrong. And as Christians, we have to speak up. We have to be a voice. And that kind of dehumanizing, it happens around us in our own towns and cities. It happens around the world. And our silence needs to end. Do you see that if we are silent, our silence is a kind of condoning? And so that's my challenge to you today.